Welcome to my kitchen. My name is Brandy and this is our channel, Sewing Back. And today we are working on another Thanksgiving. It can totally be a side dish if you're going to a gathering and you're bringing something. But it's also a great, if maybe you're doing a smaller Thanksgiving, or maybe it's just, you know, you or your spouse, or, you know, just maybe your family of four for Thanksgiving, and maybe you're like, we don't want to eat a big old turkey and we don't need all of that, but we still want to kind of have that Thanksgiving feel to everything. So what I'm trying to show you how to make today is a southern chicken and dressing. And so please don't be offended. There's a lot of controversies about dressing and stuffing, okay? And the best way that I know to describe it is dressing is southern, okay? It's from the South and it is delicious and it is the way it is meant to be made. I'm just kidding. Because I know lots of people who love stuffing. And stuffing is what we would call around these parts a Yankee dish. But let me tell you, some of them Yankees know how to cook too, so don't be fooled. I don't do stuffing, probably because it requires, you're gonna have like crusty bread you're gonna cut up, or you're gonna go buy the Pepperidge Farm stuff or what have you, and I just can't eat that. And so I can eat crusty bread that I make and things like that, and maybe someday I will attempt a stuffing with some of my sourdough and things like that. But why would you do that when you can make dressing? I don't know. Dressing's like, it's that good. So anyway, all kidding aside, whether you like one or the other, I'm not your girl for teaching you how to do the stuffing, but I definitely can teach you how to do a southern dressing. And the chicken is not a separate, it is included in your dressing, and it makes for a delicious Thanksgiving meal. If you want to use it for that, it would make a delicious, it's perfectly great just to go take as your side, to go along with all your other Thanksgiving family things if you're all bringing stuff to share and have a big Thanksgiving meal. But it really is a great one if maybe you're scaled back, maybe you're not going out of town, maybe it's a smaller thing, but there's no reason not to celebrate and be thankful. Okay, I've already milled my cornmeal. So this is straight up cornmeal. There's no wheat or anything or gluten-free flour or any of that in it. When I make cornbread, I make it with straight up milled dent corn. Now I have a little bit in this bag left over that I want to use first, and then I'll open up my mill and use whatever else I need. What you need to make some southern cornbread, you need a bowl. You need about 2 cups to 2.5 cups of your cornmeal. Now some people will take they'll do 2 cups of cornmeal and they'll do half a cup of flour. Now that can be a gluten-free flour if you're gluten-free, or you can use an all-purpose flour, whatever that is for you, or freshly milled wheat if that's what you want to do. That's totally okay to do that. A lot of people do that. I use straight up corn. Okay, so I'm not going to be adding any flour to this. And it's just, I don't know if it's just because how I've gotten used to it, but this is what I like, and this is what my family likes. And so I'm going to put in, this is a half cup measurement. I don't want to dirty up another one. Hold on, I'm going to try to get this out. Alright, so we're going to say this is a cup. I know it's a little bit over, but it'll all work. So I'm going to put 1 more cup of my freshly milled. So that is a little over 2 cups of cornmeal. I can also, in the description, I can link a couple really good gluten-free if you don't have a mill. There's a great one out of South Carolina. It's my favorite outside of me milling my own. And it's totally gluten-free. They also have really good grits. All right, so I have this. So now you need to add, there's no sugar up in this, okay? So you need to add a tablespoon of salt. You're gonna, this is my baking soda. Because this is freshly milled, I'm actually gonna put a teaspoon. If you're using a mix, I would only put like a dash or a pinch or something like that. This is my baking powder, and I'm gonna put 2 teaspoons, and I'm not sure if I said tablespoon of salt, but it's a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm just gonna incorporate these. Now, as I said, a lot of people when they make dressing, they will put their sage and stuff like that after the cornbread's made. I actually cook my cornbread with infused, this is wild mushroom and sage olive oil, and it's delicious. I will also saute my vegetables that are going to go into my dressing with this. If you don't have that, which I'm assuming most of you won't have that, because I get this from a specialty shop, then you would use ground sage. And you would just use whatever your favorite oil is. Now, you could, if you could totally do a garlic infused, which you can get at like Walmart, Aldi. All those places typically will have a garlic one. You could do that if you wanted to, and then you wouldn't have to cook garlic in when you're sauteing your vegetables. So just know if you're using infused oils, you're going to switch out those spices for the for when you're doing the other. So I'm just FYI in it, okay? So you're going to need about, now I'm not going to use, of this one, I'm not going to use, you need about 1/3 cup of your oil. And I'm not going to use all of this oil. I'm going to use some of it. Enough to impart the flavor. Okay? So then I got to get my other oil. I'm just going to mix it. And I'm going to eyeball it to about 1/3 cup. Plus, when I was heating up my pan, it's been heating up. I put a little bit of oil in the bottom of it just to make it get really happy and hot, and it's going to give you that nice crust. Alright, so I have this in here, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this in. Alright, now I'm going to have a large egg. If you have a small egg, I would probably do 2. But mine, this is a large one, so it should be fine. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of break that yolk up. And then buttermilk. I like the whole cultured buttermilk. And if you have buttermilk and it's out of date, don't throw it away. Just keep using it. So I'm going to start with a cup, and then I just kind of watch it as I'm going. I'm going to put some muscle behind it. There we go. I think I'm going to put a little bit more buttermilk. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Just kind of get that right consistency. Alright, so this is going to go into the oven, and we're going to bake it for We're gonna bake it at, I bake mine at 425. It's usually usually about 22, 23 minutes. You will have to watch it with your own oven. Some ovens are hotter than others. So you kind of, some people are using gas, some people are using electric. So you kind of want to, I would say at 20 minutes, I'd be checking it. Okay, you should have a nice brown crust on the outside. Oops, excuse me. And you should, it should be nice on the inside. And just think, so I just made my cornbread and I've imparted already, I've got that sage flavor kind of going in there. And so it's going to be really delicious. So my pan is hot. I don't know if you can see the smoke kind of coming off of it, but it is. And you want that pan hot. 1, your bread will release from it. 2, it helps with that nice crust when you hear that sizzle. Okay, and we're gonna get this in there, and we're gonna get it baking. So we gotta get our chicken in our Instapot. Before I do that though, because I'm using a whole chicken, I need bone broth to make this chicken and dressing. You want that rich bone broth. That's why I chose to do a whole chicken. I'm also going to be using my Instapot little insert thing here to set my chicken on after I start sauteing some of my vegetables. So I'm going to saute a little bit of celery. I'm fixing to use half of an onion and some fresh garlic, and I'm going to saute that on the saute function of my Instapot, and with that sage infused olive oil. So if you don't have that, then you can just use your olive oil, whatever your oil is that you want to use, and this is a good opportunity to start giving some of those flavors. So you could use a poultry seasoning. You could totally put thyme, oregano, sage, or just a good Italian herb blend. I'm going to use my Tuscan. Even though my oil has the sage in it, I still want to develop those other flavors as well in my broth. And I also always add turmeric, powdered turmeric to it with some pepper and a little apple cider vinegar. But I don't do that until I get these vegetables kind of sauteing. And what I'm going to do with the other half of the onion, these other celery stalks, I have a red bell pepper and I have a couple of green peppers from my garden, and I'm going to dice all this up. And this is going to go towards the dressing part. Okay, so we will actually saute these in a little bit in some butter and with a few more spices. My Instapot, I've got it preheating on the saute function. I have a little bit of that olive oil in there. That is my half an onion, a little bit of celery, and some fresh garlic. And I'm gonna drop this down in here. You hear that nice sizzle? I'm gonna get these flavors starting to meld. I do have some more pieces of celery and some carrot I'll add in a few minutes. Okay, so now I'm just going to toss those in there. We're going to get those going. Alright. Next part is we're going to start putting our spices in. Tuscan spice that I like to use by Salt Sisters. I'll put a couple of teaspoons of that. I want a good teaspoon of real salt. Probably another half. You want your broth flavorful. Alright, then I'm going to do my turmeric. What that is. That's what really gives my broth a beautiful color. Turmeric is so good for you. But to be able for your body to actually use the turmeric, you need to add pepper. So I've got pepper. I'm using white pepper. I like the flavor of it. And I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. And I just kind of eyeball it. Put some in there. And we're going to kind of stir it. Sorry, my camera is getting a little foggy there. So it kind of looks like a paste you have going on in there. I hope you can see that. And that's what you're looking for. You don't want to burn it. Just kind of want to get happy. All right, and now I'm going to turn my Instapot off. So I'm going to hit cancel. It's turned off. And now I'm going to get some water to put in here. Okay, so I got me some water. And I'm going to pour it in here. And I'm going to get all those little nice bits that are on the bottom. I'm going to bring you overhead in just a second and let you see the beautiful color, that turmeric and that apple cider vinegar. Remember, apple cider vinegar is a prebiotic. Now, yes, it's going to be cooking in here, but it is still very good for you. Okay, so that's, see how pretty that color is? That's from the turmeric, all right? And turmeric is very anti-inflammatory, so it's good. You could also, if you wanted to, you could put ginger in here if this was going to be a broth you were just going to be drinking, but because I'm making a dressing with it, I don't really want that ginger flavor in my dressing, so I'm not adding that. I'm going to go ahead and probably put one more of my Tuscan blend, and then put that on the shelf. And now I am going to put my little rack in here. I want to add a little bit more water. That's what it's going to look like, okay? I'm under my max amount in my Instapot. And I'm going to put on my lid. Oh. And it is on seal. All right, so I have it on. So we're going to cook, pressure cook on high for 1 hour. I do a couple over, so that we can get this all cooked up. You want your chicken falling apart, so I've got this going, so I'm going to hit start. And so you want your chicken falling apart but juicy when you put it, because you're going to cook it again when you have it mixed into your dressing as you put it in the oven. Okay, so keep that in mind. But you want a juicy chicken. Some people will tell you to use a rotisserie chicken. You can do that, but my experience is it's too dry. It dries out. And if you stew the chicken, you get the desired consistency of the meat and a good southern dressing. So, and because this way I don't use my shelf-stable bone broth that I've already made, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Next up was my other half of my onion. I did 2 stalks of celery. I did 1 red bell pepper. I probably used about 2/3 of it. And then a little bit of green pepper. They were both kind of small from my own garden. And then I did 3 cloves of chopped garlic. And so, ooh, it's looking good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start putting these in here. Get all our good parts out. Now, I will tell you, more than likely, hold on, I'm going to go ahead and put my sage oil in here so I can impart more of that flavor. And I'm going to go ahead, this is my Tuscan blend, which is essentially all my Italian seasonings. I'm going to go ahead and put a little black pepper. Now, traditionally, a lot of people would take issue with this from the South because I put peppers in it. It tastes good. So, however, I've seen plenty, depending on what part of the South you're from, where they would use peppers. So, I've had it both ways, and my family, we really prefer the peppers in it. And so, if you don't want that, that's not your thing, you totally could leave the peppers out, okay? And I actually have a family person who does not like onions, and so years ago, grandmother used to make a small batch of dressing without onion for said person. So, so I don't know if any of you have grams or grandmothers or mimis or momos or whatever you call your grandmother, or if you had grandmothers that did things like that for you in your life that made you feel awful special. And so all I'm going to do is we're just going to let these, we're going to kind of cook them down, saute them, and once we do all that and we get this done, we'll start breaking up our cornbread. Now, I will tell you that most Southern dressings will have some kind of white bread. It could have a biscuit, some kind of component like that in it. I don't use that for obvious reasons. My vegetables are done, so I'm going to put them in with my cornbread. I'm going to allow them to just be able to sit until they're ready to add the chicken and the broth. And we will be adding some egg to this as well. I don't want to put the egg in yet because this is hot. I don't want to cook the egg. And so you're going to put this, mix this all incorporated into that. And that looks so good. Very yummy. It smells, like I said, it smells really good. And so I'm just going to kind of have this to the side while the chicken finishes up. And it's almost done. When it gets done, I have to bring it down to temperature and pull out my chicken so it can cool enough for me to pick off the meat, and then I'm going to pull out the broth I'm going to need for this. Alrighty, so I just got the lid off. You can see my chicken is falling off of the bone, and I'm going to take it out. Looks like. Now, I do have the vegetables and stuff like that, and so I'll strain what I'm going to use so that I don't have any of that going into my dressing. And this, if you can see all that smoke, it has to cool. I don't have, they do make these like elf gloves or something like that that you can touch really hot meat like that. I don't have that. And that's okay. I'm just going to let it sit over there for a few minutes. I've just started preheating my oven, and once it's cooled down just a little bit, then I can pick out my meat that I want to add to my dressing, and I can skim off the broth. My chicken, what I ended up doing is I took all the dark meat, and I'm going to put that in my dressing. And I decided on my menu tomorrow, I have soup for our menu, and I'm really wanting to make a cream of broccoli soup. But my boys don't like that. So I have enough chicken and enough broth left over that I can make a small pot of chicken soup for them, which they both like very much. So they'll have that, and I can still make the cream of broccoli for John and I, and after church. So that's what I'm gonna do. And so I'm saving the white meat to go into the chicken soup, and I took all the dark meat and I've put it here. So I'm just gonna slide this in. I took the skin off, but as you can tell, that turmeric, I still have a lot of yellow towards my meat and stuff. I also strained some broth. I don't know if I'll use all of that. So we're gonna get this, and then I'm gonna salt. I'm gonna pepper this. It looks so good. All right, so I'm gonna do a little salt. And anything that has like bread, whether it's corn or, you know, if you were doing a stuffing that had like a bread, you know, day-old bread or what have you, it takes a lot of salt to get that right flavor. So just know that. The other thing you have to add to this, I'm going to do a little pepper, and this takes 3 eggs with this broth. So I want to put the eggs in first before I do the before I put the broth in and kind of mix it up, because the broth is still really hot. I don't want to cook the egg. The egg is just going to help it set up like a good casserole. So I have 3 of my girls' eggs. Look at that one. I'm wondering if that's a double yolker. Can y'all see that? Look how huge. I mean, that's a huge egg. That's one of my Easter eggers. So let's see. Nope, it just has a ginormous yolk in it, but it was not a double yolker. I thought it might be. All right, so we're going to do 1, and let me get a fork. I'm going to pour that in. Let's do the next one. My eggs are fresh, and that's why I do 1 at a time. Get that one in. I can tell their yolks are they're not as orangey looking because I don't have marigolds anymore to feed them and stuff like that. That helps give them those really rich yolks and other things out of the garden. Okay, so I got that going. Alright. So I'm going to kind of move this around. Just kind of incorporate that egg with this. Let's see how that is. This smells really good. It's going to be tasty. That's not enough. I'm thinking it's probably going to end up taking about 2 cups of broth, because it usually, when I do a double pan, it's usually 4 cups of broth. Yeah, so. And I had about 3½, so I've almost used that. I'm going to do just a little bit more. And I'm going to put the rest of that broth back into my boys' soup for tomorrow. Put it in here because I can put the lid on. So let's see. And this is This is cast iron with the enamel over it, so it shouldn't stick. If it does, it won't be too bad. I'm just going to kind of get this in my pan. Okay, and I have my oven preheating at 350 degrees. You could do around 375 if you're doing other casseroles that are around that temperature. That's what it looks like. I'm going to put my lid on. I'm going to put it in the oven and bake it for about 45 minutes. It could take up to an hour. I haven't done this in this oven yet. So I'll kind of check in on it at 45 minutes. And I'll see how it looks. I may end up taking the lid off and finishing it off so the top can get kind of brown. I want to say it was about 50 minutes. And that is what it looks like. And look, all that pretty red. It's one of the reasons I like to add the red bell pepper. It looks so pretty, it's tasty, and all that. Alright, so I know you're wanting a taste test. So let me pull this out. Now, if you were making this as like your Thanksgiving meal, I have a video for a green bean casserole, and then make you a pie, and you would have a wonderful feast. Or you can get you some canned cranberry jelly or sauce or whatever you like, if that's what you want to do. Because my mom informed me she's excited that I made the jam sauce, but she's still bringing her jelly from a can, so no shame in that. So but you could totally do that, and you have a wonderful Thanksgiving meal, really reasonably priced, if that's an issue. And also a wonderful Thanksgiving meal if maybe you're not having a big get together. Maybe it's just you and your spouse, like I said earlier, or a smaller family or whatnot. And so, but this smells, it smells so good. And so I'm gonna taste test it. You could also just have some green beans if you didn't want to do another casserole, which would be good. And you could also do collards if that's your thing. This is really hot. I'll make sure I get some of that chicken. That's what I'm talking about. That is so good. That's so good. And it really, for me, it doesn't need seasoning. John will probably season it because he salts everything. That is delicious, and that makes a lovely meal, and that's what we're having for dinner tonight. And I had enough left over that my kids are going to have chicken soup tomorrow after church, and I'm going to make a cream of broccoli soup for John and I that I've been wanting to make. If you do your southern chicken dressing different than I do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you're a stuffing person, don't hate me. If you're a Yankee, don't hate me. I don't hate Yankees. I like everybody. I just like poking fun. And if you're not from the States and you're like, what are you talking about? It's like an inside joke. Anyway, if you have a good stuffing recipe, especially if you have one with like a sourdough crusty bread that you think I might like to do, hey, leave me a link or something down in the comments. I'm willing to give it a try. Even though this is delectable. But anyway, also, if you are finding value in our content and you like it, we'd love it if you subscribe to our channel. Or if you know someone who likes all the things like we do, then please share our videos with them. We appreciate that so much. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope for those of you who are believers and you're going to the Lord's house tomorrow, I hope and pray that you are uplifted and that you will have a thankful heart in this season of Thanksgiving. And more than anything else, no matter what is being thrown at you in life, okay? We all have challenges and struggles. I hope that you remember who holds it all, and that brings you great comfort, joy, peace, happiness, loveliness, all the things, because only He can. So with that, I will let you go, and I will see you next time, because I'm going to go finish eating.